Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm super excited. You guys know what holiday it is, right? I mean, yeah, okay. So I got a special episode coming your guys' way today. And like I said, I am super excited for this one, guys. So let's slam back these shots and let's get to it, right? How does how the hell does he do this with the? Does he have like a? Oh, screw it. If you guys couldn't tell by the intro, I'm excited. And I know it's really hard to tell because my excited voice is the voice all y'all kind of have before you guys go to sleep at night or like when you first wake up in the morning. Trust me, I'm excited. If I was any more excited, I'd be yelling. So I'm going to try to keep it to a dull roar. But I'm excited because today I have a special episode for you guys, which again, I probably already told you in the intro. With the spooky season coming up, witches be about. So let's get this going. Today we're doing a triple threat. Both in the kitchen and in the story. We know what time of year this is. A time where magic spells fill the air, cauldrons are filled with potions, and wizards and witches are about. Now, a certain franchise of books inspired these dishes. One with magic people in England fighting against other magic people, one who has a botched nose job. Now, before I throw the book up on the screen, I have to do the disclaimer thing. I hereby have no claim on any copyrighted material. None, nada, zip, zilch. You hear me? Major company that rhymes with Barn or Wuthers. Alright, now that that's out of the way, today we're looking at witch trials. And no, I'm not doing the ones that occurred in Salem. If I was forced to read The Crucible back in school, I'm sure all you were too. Though Giles' badass Corey saying more wait as they pile stones on his chest is fucking epic. So go check out the play. It's pretty fucking awesome. Now, today we're looking at three people who were accused of receiving the acceptance letter to a special magic school, if you catch my drift. These three witches we're looking at are from Scotland, Germany, and Pomerania, which is a region around what is now Poland. For this, we're going to go in alphabetical order. Because this is my channel and I do what I want, damn it. Now, before I get into these three stories, a quick down and dirty on witchcraft throughout history. When we think of witches, we think of the pointed hat wearing, broom flying, Sarah Jessica Parker and Hocus Pocus type. However, mentions of witchcraft go back a long, long time. I mean, back to like ancient Egypt and Babylonia a long time ago. It played such a big role back then that the Code of Hammurabi, which is one of the first recorded codes of law, has witchcraft mentioned in it, which is pretty wild. Now, witchcraft came and went in waves throughout history, and it didn't always result in immediate burnings at the stake. Stake. Or hanging, or stoning, or drowning, or what have you. It wasn't until the religious struggles in the Middle Ages onward that witchcraft took the negative connotation we associate with it today. Side note. Yeah, I side note all the time, so I don't even know why I said side note. I know my salty stories, dash of salt, salty shorts. I always tell you, like, hey, this person's going to be salty, or this person's going to be salty. That some group is going to be salty by the end of the story. I think at the end of each one of these stories, it's going to be pretty evident who's being left salty. All right? We good? And away we go. We're going to Scotland, the land of my people, for our first spooky spot. Specifically, we're going to Orkney, a group of islands off the coast of Scotland. The inhabitants of Orkney have been doing witchcraft for like a long time, believing in sorcery and the supernatural. It wasn't really argued as out of place. It was as much a part of life as breathing, taxes, the Yankees whining about 27 World Series rings, the norm. Normal. That all changed when Mary, Queen of Scots, passed the Scottish Witchcraft Act in 1563. Wow, that's crazy. An official act of government against witches. I wonder if after the election, whoever's president will start up the Anti-Casper the Friendly Ghost Commission. I bet that would be a hoot. Now, Patrick Stewart, not that Patrick Stewart. This Patrick Stewart was the second Earl of Orkney, and for some reason he was called Black Patty. I looked like a lot to see if there was a reason, and I couldn't find any. So he was called Black Patty. He ruled the islands of Orkney when the first witch trials popped off in 1594. Old Patty Boy came from a fully functional family, like a lot of these monarchies back in the day. He hated his father, his brother, his other brother, and I'm sure he hated the family cat too. The infighting was so severe that Patty found his brother's servant with poison supposedly meant for him. So, he did the just and fair thing. He tortured the shit out of the servant for 11 days until he got a confession. Isn't history fun? In his confession, he named the subject of this story, Alison Balfour, as a co-conspirator. The servant had a change of heart right before he was executed and recanted his whole confession, and was then executed. Alison lived in the Stennis. I'm gonna say Stennis, but I don't know if that's right. But it's a village on Orkney. Fun fact: Stennis has some ancient stone structures still standing today, including the standing stones of Stens. That was a lot of alliteration. And also really original on the name, guys. The Standing Stones of Stennis. But I digress, like I always do. Alison and her husband, whose name I'm throwing up on the screen because there is no way I'm going to be able to pronounce that, and their 2 children lived together. She was known as a healer, kind of famous on a local level. Her knowledge of how to heal peeps made her the perfect subject matter expert on how to do the opposite. Unheal people. Allegedly, Patrick's brothers and servants had several consultations with Alison on how to best poison Patrick. Really? How does that work? Hey, Allie! Phone! Who is it? It's them guys that does want Blue Patty dead. They want to know if you're free Thursday. It's Black Patty for the 100th time. And tell him I have bingo Thursday. Ask him about a week from Friday. I know you guys watch my channel for the entertainment factor. Anyway, these consultations supposedly happened in October of 1593. But Patty never got sick, so false allegation, right? No. With no proof except some dude's story that he got when he was tortured, she was arrested, and then the real fun began. She was imprisoned and told to confess, which she did not. She then had her legs put in a lovely device that I will not even attempt this one, so that's definitely on the screen. It was made of iron, and when heated by a furnace caused extreme amounts of pain. Or helped thaw out cold soldiers from Fort Drum, am I right? Where my Mountain Peak dudes at? No? Alright. Alison lost consciousness from the pain, and of course that meant her suffering ended. Until they removed the thing, let it cool, woke her up, and then started again. Rinse and repeat. So, torturing her wouldn't get a confession. Authorities then brought in her husband. And I bet he really regrets the for better or worse part of his vows right about now. Because if he didn't, he was about to. The method of torture is debated by some historians. Some think he had pain caused by leg irons. Others think they went the Giles badass Corey route and pressed him with 700 pounds of stone. More weight, bitches! Apparently, the hubster must never have done the dishes or taken the garbage out or brought her flowers because Alison didn't bat an eye. So they brought her son in and put his legs in what they called iron boots that went from knee to ankle. Then, because these are humane times, they took massive hammers and slammed them into the boots, shattering bone and destroying his flesh. Holy shit! But apparently, the son must not have done his homework, maybe snuck out, missed curfew, because she still didn't confess. I mean, what else can they do? Torture her daughter? That's exactly what they did. Putting her in thumb screws, which fucking destroys your hands. Like, you're probably not playing Beethoven's Fifth on the piano anytime soon, if ever. That was the last straw, apparently, because Allison confessed in order to spare her family, which she probably should have done before her son's leg got turned into jello. She was promised that she would not be executed if she confessed, and she wasn't until December 16th, when they took her to be executed by strangulation and burning. Going for that double kill, I see. Just like the servant before her, who was tortured and executed, Allison recanted her confession and proclaimed innocence, which of course worked because it didn't and the sentence was carried out. So, the moral of the story is, don't be a healer on an island where the ruling family has more than enough issues for a whole season of Jerry Springer. Now, on to Germany for number 2. This one is short and sweet. Maybe sweet isn't the right word here. Short and painful? Short and dead? Maybe just dead? Anyway, we're stopping at 1624 in the city of Bamberg. We'll meet a man by the name of Johannes Junius. Johannes Junius. Johannes Julius. Joe. Now, unlike most witches of this time period, who were one female and two of the lower class, generally speaking, Junius was a man and the mayor of Bamberg. I mean, we're talking a, major political position, in charge of a city. He became the mayor of Bamberg a few times, actually, in 1614, 1617, 1621, and from 1624 to 1628. I mean, he sounds like a successful dude, pretty popular, right? Right? Wrong. The Bamberg trials began in 1626 and ended in 1631, resulting in the execution of over 1,000 people. It was one of the largest witch trials in history and occurred during the 30 Years' War, which I'm not even going to touch backstory-wise because, the 30-Year War would take a while. Now, during the trials, Junius was under constant suspicion due to his wife, who had been previously executed for being a witch. I'm guessing these things run in the family. Well, during this witch-killing frenzy, another burgermeister... burgers. Burgermeister, by the way, is like equivalent to mayor. This burgermeister named George Neudecker ratted Junius out as an accomplice in witchery, witchcraftness. I'm sure this finger pointing was done during a legal, non-torturous questioning by authorities, right? Yeah. Using this evidence, and I use that term very loosely, Junius was arrested in June of 1628. It's possible that he was actually a witch because other people apparently pointed fingers at him during their interrogations. Yeah, you're right. When brought to court, Junius denied the witchy witnesses claims and demanded to confront them. Even through torture, he denied the charges. This torture, by the way, included thumb screws to fix carpal tunnel, I hear. I hear it's really effective. And something called strapato. Not as dirty as it sounds. Alright guys, I know this cut is coming in the middle of a video, but really wanted to get this episode out to you before Halloween, or at least on Halloween, but ran into some technical difficulties. And,
maybe it's because you're using an old phone.
What? No, I mean, it's because
you're using an old phone.
Look, I just...
To record videos for YouTubes. Just not an old phone.
Yeah, alright, yeah. Yeah, you too.
Buy a camera.
Alright, look, yeah, so, camera issues, right? Yeah, right.
Buy one.
But hey, so I spliced some stuff in, and you'll at least get the rest of this recipe. So stay feisty and watch me keep cooking. It's where the victim's hands are tied behind their backs, and then they are hoisted in the air by their hands or their wrists, which dislocates your shoulders. They were really creative with tortures back then. On July 5th, he confessed, renouncing God in favor of the devils. Not the hockey team, like the devil. His confession was scandalous, to say the least. While having financial issues, he was seduced by a woman who apparently was a succubus, which is a woman who appears in dreams to seduce men, but is really a demon. She threatened to kill him afterwards if he didn't renounce God. That must have been some crazy pillow talk. Just finishing doing the dirty, you roll over, tired, and like, all right, now that we did that, I'm gonna kill you if you don't renounce God. It's a real mood changer, isn't it? He changed his name to Crix, which is way cooler than Johannes. Joe, right? No? He was given a familiar, which is a supernatural guardian of sorts, named Fuchsin, Vixen. Vixen, it's hot. From then on, he would attend masses where Beelzebub would appear. When told that he had to sacrifice his children to Beelzebub, he couldn't, so he sacrificed his horse instead. That sounds pretty even, right? Can't sacrifice my children, so I'm going to sacrifice my horse. On July 24th, he wrote a letter to his daughter recounting his torture and saying a painful goodbye. That must have been a great letter to get in the mail. I'm not going to go through and read the whole letter. It's pretty long and has lots of details that I've pretty much already said, so there's no reason to really go into that. But after the thumbscrews and strappado, the executioner said to him, dude, just confess, man, and get it over with. Like, these guys are torturing you. It's hurting my soul to see you tortured. I have to torture you sometimes, and that sucks. Just confess and get it over with. So he did. And then he wasn't tortured anymore. But then he was. And then he indicted many other people. And the torturing stopped. Until it didn't again. And again and again and again. And then he was burned at the stake. Cricks cracked in the fire, huh? Moral of this story is, don't be a mayor in Germany in the 1600s. Or change your name to Crix. Or marry someone accused of being a witch. Third time's a charm, right? We had a Pomeranian in the late 1500s. Sidonia von Bork, we're going to call her Sid. Sid. S-I-D, Sid. Sid was born into nobility. And after her sister died in 1600, she moved to, the name on the screen, Abbey, which at the time was a convent for unmarried noblewomen. She had a checkered past, legally speaking, becoming embroiled in several lawsuits over money she claimed was due to her. She even sued her brother and the Duke of Pomerania. These lawsuits were so serious, they went to the imperial court in Vienna. Her legal battles continued while in the abbey, engaging in several more lawsuits and judicial conflicts with her co-residents and the staff of the abbey. She was dismissed from her leadership position in the abbey because of these conflicts, surprise, surprise, but she wasn't about to go down fighting. She appealed the dismissal to the Duke of Pomerania, not the one that she earlier sued. He was DED dead. This is a new one. The old Duke sent a commission down to investigate the fight between her and the abbey. Apparently, the commission pissed off Sid, or she pissed them off, both are likely, because a major beef occurred between her and the commission, headed by some dude named Von Wendell. We're just going to call him Wendell. Wendell met with the dude in charge of the abbey to get rid of the, quote, poisonous snake, which could have meant Sid or a real snake. I mean, if there's a real poisonous snake there, they might talk about getting rid of it. But conveniently, everyone died. The Duke, Wendell, and the abbey leader. So all was good now, right? Just peace and Sid living out her best life. Nope. A few years later, she filed more complaints against her new bosses at the abbey, and I had to check to make sure Sid's name wasn't really Karen. The next Duke got these complaints, and he too sent a commission to check out what the fuck was going on at the abbey. Von Bork, who was related to Sid, if you remember her last name from the beginning of this, headed the commission, saying that the abbey was basically a shit show. But before the commission could figure their shit out, this Duke died, but the new Duke kept the commission going because he and Von Bork were buds. Everything came to a head July 1619, when Sid and another leader in the abbey had an out-of-control fisticuffs during Mass, which resulted in both of them getting arrested. Sid's boxing opponent in the fight accused Sid of being a witch, saying Sid forced another member of the Abbey to ask the devil about her future. Her UFC opponent, Dorothea, made her roommate, Anna, support the accusation, which was a pretty big deal because at the time in Pomerania, 2 eyewitnesses with corroborating stories were enough to convict a person on trial. In this case, Sid and the quote-unquote fortune teller whose name was Wold. However, when asked to repeat the accusation under oath, Anna was like, nah, homie, not happening. Maybe that's a clue? Of course not. So, both Sid and Wold went to trial. It was quite famous at the time because of all the recent deaths of so many dukes. It was like a revolving door of dukes. I think we're on like our 5th or 6th one, really. It was really a chance to pin the deaths of all these famous people on Sid and her witchcraftery, instead of what it could have been, like natural cause or disease or, I don't know, falling off a horse, I don't know. Anyway, Wold was tried first, which was used as almost a prelude to Sid's trial. She was accused of maleficium on the screen, which is essentially witchcraft, and this one, which is definitely going on the screen because it's a long German word that essentially means bumping uglies with the devil. After being tortured, you guys are sensing a theme with all this, right? She confessed and was burned at the stake. Meanwhile, instead of being imprisoned in like a prison, which is what prisons are obviously for, Sid was imprisoned in the Abbey. And she was feeling feisty because she attempted to escape and failed, and then attempted suicide and failed. Ugh. In December, now remember, December to remember. In December, and if you remember, in July, this all started with the fisticuffs at the Mass. In December, she was formally charged. And she was charged with murder of her nephew, murder of a priest, murder of a duke, murder of her abbey boss, murder of a gate guard, murder of a doctor, paralyzing a noblewoman, consultation with soothsayers, knowledge of the future, being naughty with the devil who took the form of her cat, so bestiality and magical practices. You all know what's about to happen, right? Unlike most of these trials, these witchcraft trials, this was not a short affair. Usually it's like, oh, hey, you're on trial, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, guilty, and then boom, torture, execution. This trial was not a short affair. There were more than 50 witnesses. In June, now we're almost a year from the event that caused all this, the fighting, right? In June, the court used torture to get a confession, which she did at the end of July. She was dragged to be executed, then bucked up with a pair of pliers. They used the word ruptured, so that's fun. And then she recanted her confession. Oh, you guys gonna fuck me up with pliers? And fuck you. Fuck your confession. So, her execution was put on hold. So she could be tortured more. In August. And in September, after almost a year of imprisonment and 9 months of trial, and like a year and change after the fight in the Mass, a final verdict of guilty was reached. Obviously. Did anybody really think this was going to be overturned? She was finally executed by beheading and her body being burned at the stake. Sick combo. Or is that more like a fatality? Witchality. The moral of this one, do not sue the shit out of everyone you meet, or the deaths of everyone in your country will be pinned on you. Now, these are only 3 of the hundreds, probably thousands of deaths that occurred over recorded history in the name of witchcraft or sorcery. There are some insane stories out there. Like I said earlier, witchcraft in history spanned thousands of years to the beginning of recorded history. People have always been interested in the supernatural and always look to blame bad things on somebody, right? I mean, look at the things like the Salem Witch Trials and these ones that we had here. These ones I just, told you guys. It's so crazy. I really encourage you guys to go out and really just take a look at some of these stories, especially this time of year. This is like the time of year for that, right? Witches and shit. And that's it. A triple threat of witches for a triple threat of dishes. I really hope all y'all have a fantastic Halloween. If you're able to go out, and trick or treat or go out and hang out with friends and party and get dressed up and all that fun shit, man, go do it. Go have fun. But be safe, as always. Be safe. Be legendary. Stay feisty. Keep cooking. Happy Halloween.